Okay, hello everyone. Welcome back. Today is Wednesday. I'm available tomorrow after school, so Thursday after school. Our test is in 1 week from today. Okay. You need to bring your calculator on Friday of this week. You guys should know by now that you're going to be only in school for first period and part of second period, so I won't see you Friday. Tomorrow we will have a check-in to help see where you're at before we review for our test. But remember, yesterday and today is review. It's not really mid-unit review. It's just sort of a review to summarize what we've done. So again, if you remember from yesterday, you should be able to answer all 8, even though we did them out of order, learning goals. So I really would like it if you could try to do that today, possibly look on with somebody else and try to see what you guys come up with because it will help you as you go through today's review. Tomorrow when we get back, we'll have a check-in. And then after that, I'll go over ogives with you and then we will be ready to take review and take our test. So today, I'm just reminding you, there's going to be a check-in tomorrow. We're covering all 8 learning goals. If you need to go back and look at these videos again, they are on my big campus. Okay, so please make sure you're using them, especially yesterday's because I had highly recommended those AP questions. Okay, again, this is some review for our test. So what I'd like you to do is try these questions. These questions are still, there's some multiple choice and there's some free response. Okay, but the questions from last class were all AP questions. Some of these are, some of these aren't, but they're all very good questions still. So you should still put some stars on top of this packet and pay special attention to it. So at this point, you guys can try to do the packet, okay? And then you can watch this video to check your work either as you go or at the end. So I'm going to talk through the answers. Okay, so the SPCA collects the following data on dogs they house there, which is qualitative or categorical. Well, age is numeric, weight is numeric, number of days they're there is numeric, their costs are numeric, so it's breed. Okay, which is true of the data shown here. When I look at this, I say the majority is over here, so it gets skinny on the left-hand side, so it's skewed left, not skewed right. The mean is probably smaller than the median, that's right. The mean is going to get pulled down by those small values, and we should use the median and IQR to summarize. You should always do this for skewed data. This is true. So 2 and 3 are true. For question 3, we have a skewed right distribution. So now it's sort of the opposite of what we had in number 2. Okay. What is the most frequently the relationship of the mean, median, and mode? I said draw it. So the mode is always going to be your highest point. The mean will get pulled up and the median is going to fall somewhere in between. Again, this is why we use the median to represent the typical, because over here is the typical group. Up here is the unusual, the outliers and things like that. Okay, so this part A is saying the mean is bigger than the median is bigger than the mode. So if you think of this as a number line from 0 to 100, the mean is the largest, the median's a little bit smaller, the mode is the smallest. Okay, number 4, data set contains exactly one outlier. If the outlier is removed, so we just take it out completely, whether it's low or high, what's going to happen? Well, the range will decrease. That's true. Even if it's low or high, the range is still going to get smaller because we're getting rid of that value that's either really high or really low. The standard deviation will decrease. That's true. Well, standard deviation is another measure of spread. So your data is not as spread out anymore. The size of the data set will decrease. Yeah, if you had 10 numbers and you remove one, now you have 9. So that's the sample size. The interquartile range will decrease. That's the one that is not necessarily true. Okay, and you can try it out with some numbers. So I gave you an example of 2 data sets here. Try it out. The IQRs aren't very different. You can fill them in your list to figure it out. The interquartile range is what we call resilient to outliers. That's why we use it so often with skewed data. Okay, so it doesn't really get affected by these really, really high or really, really low numbers the way the mean and standard deviation do. Okay, variance is linked to standard deviation. Variance is your standard deviation squared. Okay, we don't talk much about variance. Again, this isn't an AP style question. Okay, number 5, we have heights of men and women are measured. We have box plots. The male heights are represented in the top, so make sure you notice that male versus female. We do have outliers here. Okay, Which of the following statements are true? Men have greater variability. Yep, look at the range. The range is much bigger for men. You include the minimum that happens to be an outlier. Male height distribution appears roughly symmetric. No, it's um, a little bit skewed towards that outlier. Okay. The female height distribution appears skewed. Nope, now it appears symmetric. So the distance between here and the median and there in the median. The tallest woman is taller than roughly half of all the men. Okay, so the tallest woman is taller than roughly half of all the men. So the tallest woman is here. That didn't came out very good. The tallest woman is here, and she's taller than roughly half of all the men. Oh, she's actually only taller than 25% of all the men, so that's not true. So let's see, there are 2 men who are shorter than all the other women measured. That's actually the correct one. Now that I'm looking at this a little bit closer on my printout, there's actually 2 outliers down here. You can sort of see it here. It's opposed to being just a single dot that looks like this. There's 2 dots there. So D is correct. E is not. The max of the women is close to the men's, not median. It's close to the first quartile. And so that's showing that almost all women are shorter than, Q1 of the men. That's saying the men are much, much taller than the women. Sorry about that mistake. Okay, number 6 we're given a 5-number summary along with some extra information here. So we're also given the standard deviation and the mean and some things like that. Okay, we're asked to, are there any outliers? So you should be doing Q1 minus 1.5 times the IQR and Q3 plus 1.5 times the IQR. And then you should, for your cutoffs, get, let's see, 90, although you can't really read it, negative 90 up to 230. So you're looking at your max and your min. My max is 200, my min is 15. So I say, okay, both 15 and 200 are within this okay range, so there are no outliers. So similar to a question we looked at yesterday, one of the manufacturers advertises a cordless phone economy price. It's only $31.95. Would you consider this to be a very low price? I said yes. You can argue it other ways. There's other ways to argue it. You could have said, I think I wrote both ways. You could have said no. Okay, I said yes because the first quartile is $30. And so I said about 25% of customers have prices below $30. So this is pretty close to that. You're on the low end. You might argue, no, it's not that great of a price because 25% of people are still paying less than you. So you want to pay even lower. You can argue it either way as long as you're using context about prices and some data points from the information they gave you. Okay, number 8, you are given 2 histograms here, independent random samples. We like that random samples. 500 households were taken from a large metropolitan area in the United States from 1950. Okay, that's our top graph. And then again in 2000. Okay, histograms of household size being the number of people in a household. Like how many people do you live with? So when I was growing up, it was me, my 8 siblings, and my mom. Sorry, my 7 siblings and my mom, so there was 9 of us. Okay, so my family would have been up here. Well, that wasn't 1950. Okay, they're asking us to compare the distribution. So compare, you should be thinking to yourself, more than, less than, what's similar, what's different. So what I did quickly was I jotted down a couple of notes off to the side just as I was reading them and looking at the graphs. Okay, remember this is talking about number of people in a household, so we're going to be saying that a lot as we compare using CUS. So I have this. I'm going to split this on 2 screens. That was the wrong button to hit. I'm going to split it on 2 screens. Let's try this. Okay, so we can actually then describe it. So what I did describe was I outlined the 4 things we want to talk about. I said the median household size in 1950 is higher than in 2000, okay, because you can see this hump is sort of shifted up a little bit more than it is there. Okay, so notice the household size. I'm talking about the number of families. I said there's nothing unusual. I don't see gaps or potential outliers. Remember to make sure you're saying potential outliers unless you do the test. The shape, I said both of them are skewed right. There's very few families that have a lot of people living there. There's very, very few with lots of people. That's something you could also add to the shape part. Okay. The range of household sizes in 1950, I said, is slightly higher than the range of household sizes in 2000, and I gave the actual data points for that from 13 to 11. So notice the household sizes in terms of talking about the units. We were talking about the years, 1950 to 2000, and we were using comparative language, things like higher, things like they both have this. Okay. So make sure you're using comparative language. All right, so tomorrow there will be a check-in, and then on after we go through the check-in, we will learn one new thing, and then we will review and have our test on Wednesday of the following week. Please make sure that you review these videos to make sure you feel comfortable with this. Here's the answer in case you couldn't read it before. I'll get rid of some of my writing so it's a little bit clearer. And I hope you guys have a great day. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.